Hey, what's up, everyone? Swinging Bull here, and welcome to the stream, earnings stream. I try and do every Wednesday, kind of pick out one of the stocks that I think might have a move, or sometimes we don't have anything important. But anyways, let's get started. So today we're going over KB Homes. Okay, so obviously located in the United States. It's a home building company. Company builds a variety of new homes designed primarily for first-time and first move-up buyers. So new home builder, okay. Kind of been running similar to SPY today. I got SPY on my right chart here. I got KB on my left chart. KB Home reports at 4:10 p.m. Eastern, so about 10 minutes from now. And just wanted to go over a couple of things with about KB Home. So EPS forecast 1.69, so $1.69 there. Revenue forecast 1.62 billion. So we'll see what it comes in at when they release here shortly. Just looking at some other info. The past three earnings, they did have no problem beating EPS back to back 3 times. So that's definitely positive for them. We'll see what happens today when they announce the earnings here shortly. Looking at the broader history, 4 earnings announcements ago, so which was January 11th of 2023 when they reported for Q4 of 2022. They did have a hard time beating EPS then, and a couple other time, well, one other time in 2022. But for the most part, they usually do a good job beating the EPS. We'll see what the revenue comes in at and the forward guidance and that kind of thing. Looking back at the previous earnings that they released and what the price of KB Homes was the following day, one day after the past 2 earnings announcements, they were read the next day. More so the previous one, they were down 4.28% the next day. The one before that, they were red the next day, but kind of flat. So not really too bad there. And then on March 22nd, they had a nice green day one day after earnings on that announcement. So it's always good to kind of see what the history's been doing. Maybe they're ready for a little bounce back on the stock price. And because I would think that, you know, they probably lowered guidance at the previous earnings. They probably lowered guidance, and that's why the stock kind of reacted that way, because we just saw that they did beat EPS by quite a bit. So it was probably a guidance issue. And the next day they were, you know, red 4.28%. So maybe, you know, that won't be the case today. So we'll find out in about 7 minutes when the actual data gets released. Is got a 10 analyst rating here, moderate buy. Don't put too much weight on the analyst ratings, because we all know how that goes, right? But anyways, just kind of bird's eye view of what the market looked like today. Obviously, it was a green day. We did have a little bit of a sell-off going into close for Power Hour, and that's because we did have a Fed speaker that was talking. That was Fed Williams, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. So, you know, overall kind of a mixed bag because of the little afternoon sell-off. But it was, you know, obviously trending up and we had a nice up move earlier in the day. Looking at the sector information, got communication services leading the pack, followed by tech. And of course, tech's been on a nice rebound lately, especially NVIDIA. Consumer discretionary in third place here for the day. Followed by some of the safer risk-off sectors like healthcare, real estate, utilities, that kind of thing. Down on the bottom, we got energy, basic materials. Energy actually down over 1% today as the sector, S&P 500 energy sector. So always good to kind of see how the sectors did today, kind of help us determine, are we in a risk-off environment or a risk-on environment? a lot of times, easy way to tell is, a lot of the speculative stuff, or IT when tech is kind of hot. Consumer discretionary, usually when that's kind of way above. Consumer staples is way down here. Consumer staples is kind of the more safer bet. But anytime we got consumer discretionary and tech, up top here, we're definitely in a risk on environment. I did want to point out we got about 5 more minutes before KB Home announces earnings. So I just wanted to go through a couple things. Tomorrow morning, we do have initial jobless claims numbers coming out, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We got CPI as well in the morning. So all eyes are going to be on that. And then later in the day around lunchtime, we do got some Fed speakers going on. We got Fed President Loretta Mester from Cleveland, and then Richmond Fed President Barkin speaks early afternoon. And then Friday, we actually have more inflation data, which is the producer price index. So tomorrow morning will be consumer price index. Friday will be producer price index. So PPI is definitely one of the Fed's favorite gauges to look at. So we'll see what happens Friday. But CPI, obviously the bigger one here, and we'll catch that data tomorrow morning. We got about 4 more minutes before KB Home announces earnings. So just wanted to go over, of course, looking at the SPY chart, what I was talking about earlier, we did have a little bit of a sell-off in the basically during power hour. So it went from 477.45 down to 475.19. So multi-dollar drop to the downside when the Fed was speaking. And then had a little bit of a retracement to the upside here to close out the day. But we'll see what happens, the rest of after hours tonight, and pre-market data. And of course, 8:30 a.m., the CPI comes in. I'm sure we're going to get a big move there. But this little afternoon sell-off that we had, just kind of wanted to talk about that because I think it's important. It was Fed's Williams was the one that was speaking this afternoon. And he was not dovish at all. I don't want to say he was hawkish, but he definitely wasn't dovish. He wasn't promising any rate cuts or anything like that. So he warns, no rate cuts until inflation moves down to 2% on a sustained basis. Okay, strong words there at the end of that statement. So New York Fed President John Williams pushed back again Wednesday against Wall Street hopes for quick interest rate cuts, because that's what Wall Street's banking on right now, and that's why we've seen kind of SPY rally up to new all-time highs. Basically predicting that would happen only when the central bank is convinced inflation is moving closer to its 2% target. So he says, I expect that we will need to maintain a restrictive stance of policy for some time to fully achieve our goals. Williams said in a speech in White Plains, New York, and it will only be appropriate to dial back the degree of policy restraint when we are confident that inflation is moving toward 2% on a sustained basis. So just keep in mind, in December, he was saying similar things. He said in this news report here, it's the second time in 2 months that Williams has pumped the brakes of rate cut expectations. So in December, he said that the Fed, we aren't really talking about rate cuts right now. So he said that in December, and then today, it's definitely, he's not promising any rate cuts anytime soon. And what happened was we saw the sell-off on SPY, just a couple dollars sell-off to the downside, but with the tight range that it's been trading in, with the VIX being so low, that's definitely something to consider here, that the sell-off. So CPI tomorrow, me personally, I'm bearish. Okay, I do have a short position on SPY. I did it with the call credit spread. Collected about half of the width of the spread in premium. So my stop loss is kind of built into the play. It's like a 1-1 risk reward. I collected almost $50 per spread on a $1 wide spread. So, if we get a sell-off tomorrow, I'll go ahead and take that to the bank and cash that out, and be a nice little win to start the day Thursday. If not, I'll take the loss and move on. But like I say, got my risk reward already set. It's built into the credit spread. So I'm not even stressing the play at all. Going back to KB Homes. So anyways, to answer a question here, Nick on YouTube, what do you think is it going to pump? As far as KB Home goes, I think we're going to get a positive reaction. There were some people in our Discord group earlier that were going to go long on it, and we did recommend to maybe put a hedge in place. And good thing about hedges is, you could be long on something, and if you can pay a lot less for your hedge, and the hedge has a bigger risk reward, we're going to use options for the hedge, of course, bigger risk reward on the hedge, but it still doesn't eat away at a ton of your upside. Then if it does go against you, that hedge is actually going to pay a lot of money for you. Looks like it's 4:10 p.m., so it's out. Got a huge move to the downside so far, down about 4%. Let's see if the initial move is maybe just going to be a liquidity grab and then they're going to send it the other way, or is this going to be the actual move here? So let me kind of zoom in here on the 1-minute chart and let's see what's happening. Okay, so big bottom wick, but we are getting some downside pressure so far. Back up to 61.60 and getting some volatility here. So the data is out. Okay, so this candle is obviously flickering. Almost looked like it wanted to go boom there for a second. Sellers are fighting back here. Let me pull up Twitter on my other screen and see if we can get some results to see if did they change the forward guidance? What was the EPS and the revenue? What are they expecting for the remainder of the year? That kind of thing. Now that we got a wick low down to $60.12, I'm going to go ahead and slap a Fibonacci on this and see what kind of retracements we'll get. I'm just going to go right at the time the move happened at 4:10, and we'll just draw it down right here. So we did get a wick down to $60.12. It did recover. It's kind of hanging out right here between 25 and 38% on the fib chart here. We'll see if it can kind of test this golden fib at 61.8. If and when it does get there, how it reacts to that level. If it pushes through and this initial down move was just, I don't want to call it a fake out, but sometimes, the first move's not the real move. So let's see what happens. I'm on the 1-minute chart. It's 4:12 p.m., so it's been a couple minutes. Low volume. I do want to point that out. It's only 2 million volume right now. And that's for what's been transpired today. Throughout the day, it's only 2.06 million volume today. 2.07 million. Volume's going up a little bit. Let's take a look here. And KB Homes does pay a dividend, 1.27%. Not much, but it's something. PE ratio at 9.17. That's pretty good there. EPS 7.68, and that we looked at that data earlier. Their EPS is usually always good. That's trailing 12 months, so good EPS. Hopefully there was no issues with the guidance, but if this keeps selling off, I'm kind of thinking that's probably what it was. Let me go over here to Twitter and see if we have some data. I know Weeble's usually pretty late at releasing the news. They're usually delayed by. Okay, here we go. Okay, I got the earnings right here. Let me just pull this over so everyone can see it. Let me minimize this, pull this up. Okay, so KBH Earnings, KB Home. Okay, this is being this was posted by AlphaSense. Okay, they are Twitter verified here, if that means anything. Revenues totaled 1.67 billion compared to 1.94 billion. Okay, so a little bit low there. Now I did want to look at over here. Let me pull something up on my other screen. Net income and diluted earnings per share were 150.3 million and $1.85 respectively, compared to 216.4 million and 247. Homes delivered decreased 10%, so decreased homes delivered. Let's see here, average selling price was 487,300 compared to 510,400. So selling prices has gone down just a little bit from the company here. We ended the year with solid fourth quarter results, outperforming on key financial metrics relative to our guidance, including homes delivered that exceeded our expectations, reflecting improved build times In addition, we generated considerable cash flow and continued to return capital to shareholders, repurchasing a significant amount of our common stock at well below book value. So obviously they were buying back their own stock. And that was stated by Jeffrey Metzger, the chairman, president, and CEO. He also said our performance for the quarter against a backdrop of evolving market conditions contributed to healthy fiscal 2023 results. For the full year, we produced revenues of $6.4 billion. Okay, so this is a big company, y'all. And diluted earnings per share above $7, which together with our repurchasing 11% of the outstanding shares, so they bought back 11% of their shares since the start of the fiscal year, drove our book value per share to over $50, up 15% from the previous year. So got some good things being said by the CEO. He also said we have experienced a meaningful sequential increase in our net orders for the first 5 weeks of our 2024 first quarter. Okay. And this real quick. As consumers are responding favorably to the recent decline in mortgage rates, okay, because the rates have been coming down a little bit after peaking. With improving market conditions and our projected community count growth for 2024, we believe we are well positioned to meet buyer demand. Our objectives remain consistent, focused on growing our profitable business and allocating our substantial cash flow to both land acquisition and development, as well as an ongoing return of capital to our shareholders, supporting our commitment toward driving long-term value. So that was from the CEO. Then you can just go to Twitter and find this, but it's got the total revenues and everything right here. So with that said, EPS, the forecast was 1.67, $1.67, and their earnings per share came in higher at $1.85. And so they beat EPS, which I figured that was going to happen. And the revenues came in above expectations. The expectations for revenue was $1.62 billion. And their revenues came in at $1.67 billion. So they did beat revenue. Okay. Let's go back to the candlesticks here. And it does look like KB Homes is clawing back this initial sell-off here. So maybe this was a little liquidity grab and after hours here, they pushed it down to grab some cheap shares. And then it's going up. And you can see it's already came back above the golden fib here, which is right at $62. So a nice even number there. I'd be looking for KB Homes to stay above 62 for the remainder of after hours for tonight. And then we'll see how it performs in pre-market. But it is looking like it's trying to, the buyers are stepping back in here as the earnings actually get digested. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple minutes to see if it ends up retracing 100%. If it kind of just hangs out here flatlining, then we'll just have to wait for more data later today and of course pre-market. So let's see what happens. SPY kind of just hanging out over here on the right, not really doing much. Let's see here. SPY did have a nice V-shaped recovery though after that afternoon sell-off. I mean, it retraced about 50% so far when that sell-off started around 477.45 area. Go back here. This is more from Fed President Williams. So the comments are the latest example of how public commentary from Fed officials doesn't match the expectations of investors. So exactly, he's basically saying we're going to hold rates higher for longer, not really expecting any rate cuts soon. When the expectations from investors, I mean, I was hearing things that people were expecting a rate cut in this quarter, Q1. I personally don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they cut rates until after the summer. But we'll see. It's all going to depend on the inflation data. If the inflation does start, consistently coming down month after month, possibly a rate cut in Q2, maybe, maybe, in Q1, but we're getting inflation data tomorrow morning, so we're just gonna have to see. Let's go back to the sticks here. Yeah, so KB kind of stalled out a little bit. Again, it's kind of on low volume here. Free float 68 million. It's just sitting at 2.15 million right now. And let's see here. Already went over the PE, EPS, dividend payout, net income, quarter over quarter. Has been decreasing. It is higher than Q1 of 2023, so about one year ago from today. One year ago, Q1 of 2023. So we'll see how these new numbers are going to react here. Revenue's not too bad there. It's pretty good. Debt to asset only 41%, so I like seeing that. Low debt to asset. Anything below 100% is going to be good. Obviously, the lower the better for debt to asset. So they have a lot more. Let's go to annual basis here. 6.65 billion in assets, and only 2.99 billion in liabilities. So they got plenty assets to cover their liabilities, which in turn makes the debt to asset ratio below 50% there. So that's good there. Let me just look at, okay, so they got, okay, 6.65 in non-current asset, current asset. Yeah, their balance sheet is pretty good. I like it. Let's go back to the candlestick. So we came up to the golden fib. Now it's kind of just hanging out between 50% and 61%. So not much of an explosive move. I mean, it closed at, what would it close at? Closed at 63, around 63.18 right here, 63.20. And it's sitting at 61.70 right now. So nothing too dramatic. It did wick down and sell off down to $60.12. But as you can see, it's already retraced up a good chunk of that sell-off. So we'll have to see what happens as after hours moves on. Got extended hours trading till 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll see what happens there. And then, of course, we'll see the pre-market data. And I did want to point out on the that KB Homes was running very similar to SPY today. I can kind of just get that sell-off out of the way, out of the screen. But let me just zoom out real quick and show you that they both looked pretty similar, that the charts did. Okay. So if we get a market-wide sell-off tomorrow, or a market-wide pump, KB Homes could move because of the overall market moving, because it was trading similar to the overall market today. So let me kind of zoom back in here. So just keep your eyes on it. It did retrace some of this sell-off here, and kind of bounced off the golden fib to the downside. You can see it right here, and kind of just hanging out right there. So we'll see what happens. The CEO will also be doing like a press conference. Usually, these 4 p.m. earnings announcements, usually the CEO will do the press conference like around 5 p.m. Eastern, sometimes 6, sometimes a little later if they're on the West Coast. But just keep your eye out for the actual press conference from the CEO. Sometimes we get a secondary move when that happens. But right now, not much action. Again, it's kind of trading on low volume right now, so not really getting a big move. But that's why we're doing this stream. I just wanted to see if we could get a big move and share that live with everyone. But it's not really doing too much right now. But on that note, since nothing's really going on, we'll go ahead and end the stream. Like I said, just keep, go ahead and pop a Fibonacci on the chart from when it started selling off down to $60.12. Just kind of keep your eye on these fib levels. If it can get back above basically $62, I think it starts trending up for the remainder of after hours and possibly pre-market. Then, of course, there could be a move with inflation data. So we'll go from there on that. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great night, and I'll see everyone next time I do got some info in the description if you want to come hang out with us in our Discord group. There's a link down there. You can join us for free and chat with us every day if you want. But other than that, have a great night, and I'll see everyone later. Cheers.